Welcome to the Visibility Project Podcast.
Welcome to the Visibility Project Podcast.
Welcome to the Visibility Project Podcast.
Started by a group of citizens in a small Michigan town with a like-minded goal
of increasing the visibility
of the unseen and unheard populations in our community.
Our guests will share stories and insights
with the goal of increasing our awareness and knowledge
of various aspects of diversity and equity
to create a more connected, empathetic, and inclusive community.
So, let's get to work.
Let's get to work.
So let's get to work.
So let's get to work.
Let's get to work.
Welcome to the Visibility Project Podcast. This podcast series is brought to you by the Cultural Awareness Coalition, based in Midland, Michigan. The project steering team is made up of several organizations and individuals with shared values. The current team includes staff from Northwood University, Midland Kids First, the Midland County Inclusion Alliance, the Legacy Center for Community Success, Our Community Listens, the Midland Wellbeing Task Force, and several employee resource groups from Dow. Our goal is to create a more connected, empathetic, and inclusive community through storytelling. We're excited to have you here. So getting us started today, my name is Jeremiah Lee. I serve at Northwood University as the Director of International Student Engagement and Multicultural Advisor. So I spearhead diversity and inclusion efforts at the institution. And I'm joined today by Pam Singer. Pam, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Pam Singer, and I am the president and CEO of Midland Kids First. I'm also a member of the Midland Public School Board of Education and have been active as a volunteer community member for over 30 years.
We're going to hear stories from others that do inform us of those many, and we're going to be varying different types of topics that hopefully it creates a depth of understanding for our community in which they feel less apprehensive about those situations themselves. I mean, I tell you what, I'm the host for the podcast, so I'm the one asking our guests the questions, and it's just my fear that I'm going to say something dumb. And but you know what? It's a part of the process of learning, and I'm learning from our guests just as I hope all of our listeners are.
I think too is many times we tend to go into situations with a judgmental attitudes, like we know why something is. And when we go into a situation thinking we already know the answers, then we're not curious and we don't ask questions. And when we're curious and ask questions, that's when we have an opportunity to really understand each other and grow and really create this more inclusive community.
Yeah, and I hope that this is just a catalyst too. When people listen to this, be like, I never thought of it this way. I never understood the experiences of those people. And, I hope it's a catalyst for people to try to learn more. After every podcast, we're going to have a lot of resources that people can take a deeper dive to understand more about. Like, for example, our first podcast is going to be with two guests who are talking a lot about the history of growing up as African Americans and from the civil rights era into the Black Lives Matter movement of today. And their experiences are something that bring a lot of value in people that have never experienced these types of things or these views. And it's their expertise and experiences just allow us a window into that world and a view from their lens. And I think that's key, is we're able to see things from different people's lenses, and we can have a window into their world, into what life has been like for them, and then to learn more. So I encourage everybody to look at those resources afterwards, because that'd be really beneficial as well.
Hey, I'm really excited about this. I can't wait to get this started.
Pam, what is this to you? Why does this project mean to you personally? And why? I mean, I know we jumped into it and we're very like-minded, but I guess I'll chime in later, but what is this personally so important to you?
Jeremiah, the last 30 years I've been involved in our community. I walk around this community and I see disparities in not only kids in the community, but adult friends too. And I see how it can impact a child or impact even adult If a person is at a meeting and they're openly gay, and there's animosity or tension, and almost an unknown on how to interact, and it creates this very unwelcoming situation. The same is true with someone in poverty. We have a large percentage of people in poverty in our community, and I don't believe that people understand how to create a welcoming atmosphere. For years, our kids have been involved in sports, and many times sports can be unreachable for folks in poverty because it's expensive to be a part of a travel team. It's expensive to be a part of a hockey team. And so then all of a sudden we start thinking about our world being a lot of people just like us. And it puts us in this bubble. And I'm wanting to break the bubble. I'm wanting to open the eyes of myself, my family, and my community to say, there are wonderful, beautiful people all around us, not like us, but that have strengths and things to bring to create even a better community for us if we only open our doors and create a welcoming atmosphere. And there's so much trauma in our world and with our young people. And I believe that this trauma can be reduced by creating welcoming environments where people don't feel alone and excluded and odd, but feel like they're a part of something greater than themselves.
And Pam, you made some good points. And I want to point out that this podcast started with a group of like-minded individuals from the Midland area. This really can apply to any community in the United States or in the world. I mean, these type of disparities in like socioeconomic diversity or diversity of race, or all of these issues exist in every community. And I think that when people listen to this, I hope it's applicable to them and say, that's exactly the same for my community and my experiences, or wow, that highlights what people in my community may be going through as well. So I think that really this is for any community. And you know what? I wish growing up I had heard these voices. So my background is I grew up in rural Tennessee, like Hickman County, Tennessee. It is, yes, Hickman County. It's in a high school of about 1,500 students. I believe we just had a handful of African-American students. And I remember one Chinese American student, and that was it. That was the diversity of the place. So my experiences were limited to hearing the voices of others from disparate backgrounds. And, my views started to change. I went to Japan as a young kid when I was like 14 years old, and I hosted exchange students. And then I went off to college in a very diverse school. And then I went abroad and taught for about 6 years. And then I went to grad school at USC, which is very, very diverse. And, it exposed me to different people's viewpoints and worldviews and experiences. And it just was a shift in my, in how I viewed the world and the experiences of others. And I didn't have that growing up. So I hope that, endeavors like the Human Library, where we're sitting and listening and talking to people, or the Visibility Podcast, you're going to hear about the experiences of people from, different backgrounds. And that's what I like about the podcast format, is that, people can listen to this anywhere. And it's going to be applicable to people in communities around the world, because these type of issues, exist everywhere. So, I mean, I wasn't exposed to this at a young age. It took me years and years, and, I'm still learning and growing. But had I had exposure to different viewpoints earlier in life, it would have created more empathy and understanding as a youth for me. And it took a long time for me to develop those. And so that's kind of what I hope the podcast can do, is, allow people to hear the voices of others and just feel like, wow, I never thought about the views of others and how they've experienced the world, and how there are certain systems in place which do marginalize people. And I do want to say that the podcast is being hosted through the CAC, the Cultural Awareness Coalition. So there's about a dozen of us who are working to make this visibility project a success. And so I want to give props to everybody on that, because maybe we're hearing Pam and my voices today and you'll hear me hosting, but there's so many that have worked to make this a success. And it's truly a testament to how many people in the community really want to have other people's voices heard. So there are so many in the community doing great work, and that there's so much more that we can do. And I hope that just by hearing the voices of others, those unseen and unheard voices can be a catalyst for more people to do more. But Pam, is there anything else as we wrap up? Is there anything else you want to add about the podcast and how does this come about? And
I guess what I would add is we're trying to create opportunities for the diversity in our community. So we'll be hearing stories from many, many different groups as far as gender, race, sexual orientation, poverty, any story that we believe will help our community, each individual, kind of expand our horizons. Like Jeremiah said, if you live in a bubble, if you live with and play with people just like you, then your horizons won't be expanded. So this is an opportunity where we can bring all different backgrounds right into our living room and really experience the joy and strengths that they have in their lives, and understand the trauma or tough times that they've had to deal with, and hopefully create a sense of empathy and desire to make a change in ourselves and in our community. I hope after listening to these podcasts that I'm asking myself, how can I do better? I see this, how can I do better? How can I speak out, or when can I speak up or take action? And education is great, but if it doesn't result in action, then it's lost. So I'm really hoping that we see some actions come out of our work.
Well, thanks for being here today, Pam. I know that you and I kind of had coffee last summer and started this group, and we got so many people with so many like-minded individuals together to start making this a reality. So I appreciate you being here today. And we're going to start with our next podcast is our guests who are going to talk more about their experiences and the Black Lives Matter movement. And we're going to be taking some deep dives into a diverse range of issues through this podcast. And so I appreciate you being here today and getting us started.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremiah. I'm excited about this opening podcast and look forward to what we can do together this year. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam.
You can stay connected with the Visibility Project by subscribing, liking, and sharing on your favorite podcasting and social apps. Look for us at the Visibility PRJ.
Financial support is needed to keep the conversation going. Go to midlandfoundation.org/give and select the Cultural Awareness Coalition Endowment Fund to be part of the project. Note podcast in your donation notes.
Thank you for listening.
We see you.
We hear you.
And together, we are making a difference.